How good are you at making choices? Do you know what you want to focus on? Do you know what your priorities are? Or are you a little bit all over saying, well, I know this should be done and maybe the other thing too, but well, actually, I'm just going to do whatever it is I want to do. Well, this life is about gaining clarity by creating choices, but also being able to create or make the right choices by getting that clarity. Now, a number of you know that last week I did my live from LAX airport. It was a bit chaotic because, well, I was at the airport and I had to juggle with the right sound, but it was either I'm not going to go live or I'm going to go live. So I did it in two parts, but it worked out. The week before, I actually did it from Chicago, and I'm pretty sure that no one interrupted me that time. The week prior, I think, well, maybe I did it twice from Chicago, thinking about it. I'm not entirely sure. I thought that the week before I actually did it from Florida. So yeah, it was chaotic to the max, I guess. I think I've done it two times from Florida to actually, then I probably did it two times from Chicago too. But Florida was interrupted too. That much I know. So it's being away, which I was for 5 weeks, gives a new perspective on so many things. And that's one of the reasons that I like to take people on the trip, because they are out of their comfort zone. Well, I can tell you, with those 5 weeks away, I sort of was out of my comfort zone. And on the other hand, I like being in the US, so I was immensely in my comfort zone. But it depended a little bit on where I was, whether or not I was in my comfort zone. But compared to what I know is normal, and even that's something you can question after coming back, being away for 5 weeks, is, well, what shall I say? I feel revived, recharged. I feel more clear than I did before. I know what I want to focus on, but at the same time, there are a number of things which are sort of pulling me in different directions. And I was like, okay, let's talk about that. So, one of the things that I started doing when I was still in the US, um, it started probably when I left Florida to go to Chicago. The first time that I was traveling to LA, I was so tired. I slept most of the time. And actually, the same was true when I went to Florida, because I had training in LA. And the day that I left, my idea was to take it easy, check out and take an Uber and then go to the airport, nothing fancy. And at that moment, a couple of other fellow students who had the same training were like, oh, yeah, we want to go to the airport too. So we decided to split the cost, but that meant that I had to get up like at 3 to leave at 4. So the first one could be there at 6 or 7. Okay. So I slept over on the way over there as well. Now, during the training in LA, I didn't feel up to do pretty much of anything. I was mainly tired. I would go there, I would come back to the hotel room, and I would sleep. That's it. Maybe get some groceries, but that was about it. And when I went to Florida, there was so much going on that whenever I wanted to do something, it somehow got interrupted. So didn't work out either. And that left Chicago and the next part of LA to be able to write. And I'm not going to say that I couldn't write before, because now that I'm so used to it, I'm still doing it, even though I'm sleepy. I need to go to sleep. But I guess that I started with part 3, and which part was the Chicago part. And I started writing every day. There were no obligations. No one was saying, you need to get up now. The only thing maybe that sort of influenced me was wanting to go to the set. But even then, I was like, I'm here to rest and have fun. And that's what I primarily did. Now, part 4 was going back to LA, but I only had 2 days of training instead of 4. And that meant that I actually had the third day to myself, and the fourth day was partially things I still wanted to do and partially traveling to the airport. And I have to say, it was kind of nice to go to the airport and actually see the surroundings, because I had taken the bus. Actually, I had taken 2 buses and a tour bus, which is called Flyway, to the airport. So yeah, it was kind of nice. There are a lot of videos I created that day. It's just that those videos still need to be posted. I realized it today when I was over at a friend's, and her daughter had her birthday that day. And she said, what do you have from October 4th? Well, I had a lot. So I showed her what LA was like, what the airport was like, what it was like when you were in the air above the clouds. So actually, that was kind of cool. So getting back to what I did in LA, that third day that I was there, I decided to go to Starbucks, and not only go to Starbucks, but do some work, which is what I did. I pretty much kept on going till there was hardly any fuel left in my iPad. So it basically needed recharging, and it was getting a little bit later. I didn't want to miss out on any buses. So I was like, okay, I'm going back to my hotel. That day, I remember that I did a lot of things. I worked on my marketing. I created banners, all those kind of things. And I was really in the vibe. It was really good. And today, going live, I realized, oh, but I never continued on. So we're talking Thursday. Friday was the day of traveling. Saturday, I arrived late in the evening. And Sunday, I think I was pretty much out of it. And then came Monday. And Monday was supposed to be a day that I would go to the physical therapist, and I would get my lungs tested, because all those things, they stopped basically during my 5 weeks overseas. Well, my car wasn't fixed yet. It was in maintenance. And, the lung machine was kaput, as in it was broken. And, PT didn't happen because, I can get that far without a car. So the next day, fortunately, I had the car again. So I did what I set out to do, except for the physical therapy, of course. I went somewhere to get my braces checked out. So I've got new knee braces. One was good, except for the color. But yeah, functionally, it's pretty much put on. And the other one, not so much. So instead of going to the PT, I said, I'm sorry, I need to stay here so we can get this fixed once and for all. And yes, I do need to go back still. So that was a day 2 that was different. So afterwards, I went to see the beauty specialist. She always does a great job. Unfortunately, change is coming there as well. At the end of the year, she won't be doing it anymore. So after a number of years, I need to find a new one. And it seems to happen a lot when it comes to all those beauty kind of specialists. But, we'll find someone else again. I don't think I need to worry about that one. So focus was a little bit lost on the whole training. So I did write my blog post, so that was good. And I think on Wednesday, I was supposed to go to the dentist. I went there, realized that he wasn't there anymore, and they had said that the location was permanently closed. So I went to the website and found out there was a contact form. Hey, how are you, Terry? You want to go on? Then I'll send you a link if you want to. So let me know. I'll go for a sec to your messenger if that's okay. Unless you don't want to. Of course, that can happen. But let me. I would actually like to have you on here because I would like to know how everything is going down there in Florida. So, hang on. If you go to Messenger, then there's a link. So then you know. So I don't know if Terry's still watching, but if he is, then I hope he's going to check out Messenger and is going to join, because Terry didn't move too long ago to Florida, and Florida has recently been hit by 2 hurricanes. So Helene and what's the other one again? Milton or something. So I'm kind of curious how he's doing. So some friends of mine, they got some not so much wet feet as that there some spaces they need for rehearsal and those kind of things were soaking wet. Other people, they had a tree collapse on their roof. Other people had the tree collapse too, but not on their roof, so that was a good thing. So there's a lot going on with that tornado. Well, I know that Terry has seen the link, so I hope he's coming on. But getting back to the whole thing, I went to the dentist, figured out that he had moved, went to the new address, and then, of course, it was no sense going there anymore. So I ended up meeting up with a friend who lives in the area, and that was actually kind of nice because we went to one of the beaches, actually to the harbor, Scheveningen Harbor, and we had pancakes over there. They make it in such a way that everyone can eat it. They take everything into consideration, what they can and cannot eat. So that's pretty amazing. But the sunset, it was beautiful. So I took a number of pictures and I actually posted those on Instagram with the question, do you enjoy the view? And the people who did respond said, yes, every day or every morning. So that's a good thing. But I do know that not everyone realizes how beautiful things can be. So then we went from Wednesday to Thursday, which was yesterday. So what happened yesterday? Oh yeah, I had to go to the GP. I did so. I had to go to the pharmacy, which is next to it. I did so too. And I don't know. There were some other things I did, but there was nothing that didn't work out. I remember it started raining, and I was sleepy. So I talked to a lot of people actually, but at some point I was like out, and that was one of the things which kept me from doing what I wanted to do because I was still sleepy, and that has been the theme of this week. So the good news is, and yes, I'm skipping today for a sec, that I did realize that it's nice to actually wake up with the morning light and go to sleep when it's dark, which I haven't done for a long time, primarily because it's easier with training and all those kind of things to sort of live on Eastern time. But I also was like, I don't know if I want to keep that going. So today I was like, okay, getting up in time, went to the physical therapist this time around, had to drop off a package, had a conversation with a client, and someone else. You had to pay for the client, with the client herself later on as well. Went to see a friend. So many things have happened. I played drums even. So today was a full-on day again. I do have to admit that when I was at a friend straight after dinner, I was dozing off and I was like, okay, I need to get moving because otherwise I can't get things done. So what I had started doing was actually using the night screen from Apple, so you can decide which hours you want to use. And you tell them, like, okay, this is when I'm sleeping or this is when I'm not sleeping. And apart from that, when I got up this morning, having used it last night for the first time, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of nice. But you heard it, full day. And, especially after playing drums, I was doing laundry at the same time. Before I got home, and then still wanted to eat a little something else, I was like, okay, I need to prepare for my Friday Night Live. What am I going to talk about? Because I always want something that's useful for the one who's on the other side of the screen. So that's how I came up with clarity and choices, because I was like, okay, how do I make choices? So one of the things that I stopped doing is working on my website. So I did write a blog post, but I didn't continue on with that marketing part. It's something which I had been working on continuously when I was in the US. And I was like, But when I was in the US, something else happened too. Before I came over, I wanted this place cleared up. So you can see there's a lot of Lego stuff in the background. There's like the train over there, and there's my tiny house over in the back. And one of the things that I had on my list, well, there are two things, except for the tiny house, there's actually a truck. Beside the truck, there's also this stage that I want to create. But one of the things that I had in my mind was the firehouse. And I don't know if someone told me there was a backdraft version. I'm not sure if there's actually a backdraft version. But I do remember that last year during the winter, I started buying some big boxes. I probably tripped over them numerous times. Yes, I'm a bit clumsy, and there was not that much space. And since I got back, I actually started sorting things out to be able to build it, which also meant this is what I not need. That's what's going to a friend. Same friend I was talking about earlier. She's got 2 small kids. So, that makes it easy to actually drop the stuff off there. And I already learned, which is a good thing, that she keeps things in a separate drawer, so I can always get the stuff if I want to. It's not necessarily needed, but it's nice that she did. Now, why the firehouses? So someone asked me, do you have an arsonist sighting here? Which was, of course, a little bit of a joke. And when I was in Chicago, I started talking to someone who was actually in the firehouse, which was used for backdraft. And we talked about why I started watching Chicago Fire, which was in this case because a client of mine had opted out. And by watching it, I realized that I wasn't responsible for the choices someone else made. So they spend a lot of time together. It's like 24 hours on, 48 hours off. And during the time, 24 hours on, they eat, sleep, do everything together, work together. Um, so, yeah, they talk together around the table about things which are important to them, also things which happen on the job. So, when I talked about the whole thing and also about Lego, I don't know how Lego came up. If I talked about it first or if he did. But there was a small version in Lego from that firehouse actually, which was kind of cool. So I was like, okay. And it reminded me like, okay, I got these boxes to actually go do it. Now remember today is about clarity and making choices. So I was like, I can make a choice based on what I now know. So I've taken all these videos and all these photos, and now I know what I need and actually to get it done. And well, actually, I didn't buy two boxes which were used for the stones. I actually bought also two boxes which with actual firehouses, but then the winter version. So 4 boxes in total. Yeah, that's how things get stacked up and piled up, and that's not good. So the the people who inspect this area every now and then, they said you need to change this because whenever there's fire hazard, you need to be able to leave smoothly, and when there's too much stuff, fire can spread very easily. Actually, it's a bit ironic if you think about it, because I want to create a firehouse and some other stuff. I might create a fire hazard if I don't clean it up. So that's, yeah, it's kind of funny if you think about it, right? So, having said so, I when I came back, I was like, okay, I need to sort this stuff out. I know what I want to keep. I have been doing so. I completely forgot about the whole marketing stuff. Well, it was somewhere in the back of my mind. What I did do was keep writing about what I experienced. So, if memory serves me right, on the 15th of the previous month, Brendan actually talked about writing and about writer's block, and he said there's no such thing as writer's block. You just need to keep on writing and not worry about what you're putting in there, because you're going to revisit it anyway. And at first I was like, I don't agree with you. And then I was like, well, maybe he has a point. So I just started writing. And then if something came up, I put it somewhere else. And then, so on and on and on. And it works. So it's one of those things that I do on a daily basis to figure out, okay, what have I done? What have I not done? What should I be doing? And I like it. It helps me sort out my thoughts. And well, I have to say that ever since I got back, I'm so much more relaxed than prior to going there, and that's really good. So I'm very happy about that. Um, yeah, I did hear from the PT, and I already had concluded that I probably need to keep walking with braces or use my crutches. That's a little bit of a downside, but other than that, I'm in very good spirits. But getting back to choices, it's also October, which means that I need to get my information about taxes to the accountant. So we have to pay our VAT that we keep from the clients. So our clients pay a price. They do that usually with VAT, and that part needs to be transferred to the tax department. And that cannot wait too long. And I was like, okay, how's this going to work? So I need to clean this up here. And like I said, the urgency has increased somewhat, especially when I was over there. But I'm working on that. I still need to improve my marketing, especially finishing the year strong. It's more important than ever because I want to finish the year strong with you, which means that I want to do a 12-week group coaching training and one-on-one coaching, and then finishing the year strong by taking you on the trip. In this case, you coming over to Europe and then taking you on the coach. But yes, then you need to know where to go and where to sign up. So that's why the whole marketing thing is so important. And I was like, am I going to do it prior to going live? And then I looked at it and it was like, okay, this could work, this could not work. And then altogether, okay, this is not going to work right now. So I'll finish it up after I've gone live. By the way, I'm going to sleep first. So a lot of decisions have been made by me with regards to when I'm going to sleep. So a more regular pattern. So I can get more stuff done over here, especially coming back from the US and dealing with all the appointments. I realized how important it is that I get up a little bit sooner. But yeah, at the same time, I also realized how easy it is to go in the other direction. I'm an evening person. So basically, I enjoy the silence, and that's when I get to work. And I also tend to be more creative. So today is one of those days that what I set out to do hasn't happened just yet, but I was like, I'm just going to go live. Then, it's there. And talking about not being disrupted, when I wrote this is going to be a live without any disruptions, of course, prior to it, yeah, a box with Lego fell down, which I had sorted out. And I was like, okay, I need to clean this back up. Was done pretty quickly, but it was kind of funny. Like, okay, I said no disruptions and what happens? But that's me. That's basically me. Those things tend to happen. Now, I have to say, I also sorted out some other things. And it is nice to actually see that there's more overview here. And I also have the overview in my head, so that's kind of nice too. Now, people have been asking me, are you coming over to Miami? And then someone asked me, are you coming to Chicago? When? Yeah, I'll be there in February. Oh, hang on. When was Miami? Oh, in February too. So it was like, okay, more reason to finish the year strong and also get people to finish the year strong with me, right? So many things happened and I was like, okay, getting back to focus. So basically, there are a number of things, the more long-term things, which are related to the website, the marketing, because that never stops. I mean, posting blog posts, recording this live video, it never stops. But there are some things which should be done at the same time. And that's why I'm already announcing to you that I want you to come join the group coaching training, but specifically also do the one-on-one coaching and prepare for going on the trip. And like I said before, it's when you go away that you get time to create new perspective. And that's why I'm saying I feel so relaxed. And actually that's the first, because the other years when I would come back, it would be, I would wake up wondering where I was. And I do have those like the first few seconds, but I don't feel restless, and that's new. So that's really good. And there were some things that happened when I was in the US, and I was like, you know what? I need to focus on some other things, prioritize certain things which are important and which are less important. And that's what actually one of the things that I've been doing. So that's kind of nice to see. And it all has to do with the clarity. So I already talked about wanting to start up the clarity challenge again. I'm not sure if I said it on the Friday night live. I think I said it on a blog post that I wanted to do so. And one of the things when it came to clarity is, okay, literally, what do I need to focus on? What is important for me now? And it's something that, and then I refer back to when I've been gone and I've been away. At that moment, I have way more clarity because I've seen how things can be. And that also gives me more focus on what I really want in life and what's basically, well, I wouldn't say clutter per se, but what is not needed. Let's put it that way. So those are the things that I'm, thinking about, like, hey, what can I do? Hi there. And so I've been thinking about all those kind of things. So getting back, I realized that a number of these things need to be done at the same time. It's the way it is. And that's good. So what I need to do is I need to divide my time among those priorities, which actually brings me to the question, like, but do you know what your priorities are? Do you know what you want to focus on, what you need to focus on? Do you have clarity when it comes to your choices? So I've told you about one of the long-term choices. So things that don't stop. So I work on them, but they won't stop straight away. Then there is the part that really needs to be done within a few days, which has to do with the accountancy. And then there is the part of making sure that this place is actually more accessible and that I only keep here and remain focused on what it is that I really want here. So I already knew that, a bunch of things which are here are actually related to my mom and my dad's late legacy. And today I was thinking about memories. And my dad used to collect matchboxes. So wherever he would go, Japan, wherever, he would collect matchboxes. And I was thinking, oh, yeah, I'm collecting stuff too. Usually I'm collecting those little furry animals which you can attach to the backpack. So I always have something, which I pick up somewhere. And I was like, yeah, those were his memories. And it's about my memory. So, you know what? I am going to focus on what I deem important. And, well, keeping that in mind, it makes it so much easier to say, I'm going to let go of certain things. And that's okay, because the one thing that I do want to do, which is related to my parents, is even though they're not there anymore, I want them to be proud of me, even if it's just, because I know they wanted me to do certain things. I know they were proud of me, but I also know that if I were to manage to do certain things and, really say, hey, I'm one of those 2%, oh my God, they would be so proud. And I was thinking back about this, not only about the traveling my father did. But I saw this sign. So it was a lit sign which related to the brand of the trains he sold, in this case, Märklin. And he had his store and he had that sign there, and it got smashed over and over again, which was so sad. So when I saw the sign today, I immediately had to think about my dad. And well, when he moved, it was there. I don't know. I don't think he kept it on there anymore at some point. But it did define him. And my father wanted freedom, and he got to do what he wanted to do till the day he died. So that was a good thing. Of course, he wanted to have lived longer, which he expressed. But, due to circumstances, it was like he had to make like a 5-minute decision. Split second was a little bit quick. And then he decided, okay, in the situation he was at that moment, it was like, okay, this is not going to work out anymore. But yeah, my father had a zest for life. And, to honor both my parents, it would be so nice to keep focusing some more on certain things. Now, having said that, there is something happening lately as well. So I don't know if you know this, but I like to do interviews with people. So part of it is a result of doing collaborations with other people I know from other training. But not too long ago, I also did this interview with Tommy Burke, which was kind of cool. He has written a book, not just sunglasses and autographs, or maybe it's the other way around. Sorry if I'm not saying it correctly. But he was the camera guy the first 5 years behind Chicago PD, and then, of course, a bunch of other shows. And he had to quit because of Parkinson's disease. And it was so nice to do that interview with him. I'm not going to say it because of what Evan Carmichael once said. So Evan Carmichael's the YouTube expert. He doesn't like to read about people because he wants to come up with his own questions. He wants to ask the things that other people have never asked. And actually, I'm sort of like that too. The difference is that I also have a background as both a coach and a therapist, but, it's in my blood to keep on asking. If I really want to, I listen, and then I go on, and then I go on. I'm very curious. So I'm one of those people who ask a lot of questions. And when it comes to interviews, I like to make people feel at ease. And especially when dealing with colleagues who have never really gone live, it's like, okay, just, come on the show and I'll help you out. And I have to say, it's one of the things that I really, really, really love to do. So today I was a little surprised when I had asked someone else. I need to go back a little bit back in time to make this understandable. So I, at some point, was watching the Scorpions. I was listening to certain music. I grew up with the Scorpions. There were some songs that, really stuck with me, one in particular. And I'm not sure how it came about, but I started listening to the music again, and I started watching them, and I was like, okay, how old are they now? And I was surprised because 2 of them are actually 76. And that reminded me of, seeing them so alive and still having fun. I mean, let's not take our health for granted, and let's not presume that we are going to reach that age. We don't know. But I do believe that it's so important to enjoy life. And, in one of the interviews, it was said that it had to do with basically enjoying life. But I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God, that he is doing more on stage than I can ever do. Little did I know that when I was in the US, and I'm pretty sure I sent it before that actually happened, I would have a setback when it came to the walking and my knees. So first of all, I didn't get the medical assistance I needed, so I wasn't able to just sit in the wheelchair, because I can walk nowadays and I can stand on 2 feet. It's just I cannot walk that far and I go slow, really slow. So when people are in a rush, I cannot do that. So it didn't work out. And because everything was going so well, I had not put on my braces. I was like, oh, I think I can do it. So I took them with me, but I hadn't put them on, because actually it's no fun to be sitting with braces on during a long flight. It's actually kind of annoying because you cannot really move around really nicely. So by the time I made my transfer, that's when I realized I had to put them on, which I did. And then the next day, just for one song that's always played at Brandenburg Charts. Well, there are actually a couple of songs which are being played, but this was one of the Black Eyed Peas. Yes, I'm a metalhead, I know. But, there's so much enthusiasm involved. So at some point I jumped up and I went down and I was like, this is not going the way it should. My PT confirmed that today. So I need to take it really easy. And, that's the thing. I only was there like maybe 5 minutes. Didn't end very well. Someone helped me go down the stairs. I'm very grateful for that person. It's, those, with all those things, which might seem like, oh my God, is she complaining? Well, I hope I'm not complaining. Do I run into things which are not so nice every now and then? Yeah, that's true. But I remember 2 things from that moment. First of all, it was 3 things. It was fun to be there with all the other people from the training. The second was, it was a statement that I could be there without crutches, although I would have loved to have had my crutches that day. But, years ago, I couldn't stand on 2 feet, and now I was there. And that was amazing. I cannot tell you what a joyous feeling that was. And the third thing was, there was a gentleman there. I looked like, hey, I'm going to go down the stairs. He saw me, he offered me a hand so I could go down the stairs. And, that was nice. And so for everything that I might encounter, there are always things that make it worthwhile. And that's one of the things that I actually do want to get across. So part of me is about teaching people and supporting them in speaking up and speaking out, especially to improve their mental and their physical health. So they see perspective again. But it's also about, well, certain things happen, but, what can we do with it? And so many things have happened in the past, which I wouldn't have been aware of if I had not been in a situation where I am every now and then really dependent on others. And seeing how some people, they listen to my stories and they get so happy and they get so energized and they're like, oh, how do you do it? And, I know I touched their life. And someone actually said to me, you're always so positive. So I was like, okay, that's good. And I really hope that with my message that I get across, I always show you that there's another side too. There's a side which, you know, it's like, no, maybe this is a random example, but that's okay. I This year I went without Joe to Chicago. Now the good news is that I actually have a number of not of interviews, videos done with some people she knew very well. And, I said, "Hey, do you have a message for Joe? Where is she? Yeah, she's not here." And then, we talked about it. And yeah, sure, we're going to record a message for Joe. So she got one from Petty, one from Leroy's, both actors from Chicago PD, and one from Lucci, who produces the whole stuff and, keeps an eye on everything that's going on at Chicago PD at the recording. And, I got to talk to a lot of people, which was so amazing. And I totally went off topic here. Oh, that's kind of funny. Well, I'll get back to it in a little bit. So, with those things that might not be so nice, she wasn't there. It actually turned out really nicely for her because she did get those videos. They were made for her and it made her feel really special. I'm pretty sure it did. And by the way, it made me feel special too because, some of those people, especially Patty, is so kind. Anyway, getting back to the whole interview thing, because that's what I was talking about, and I was talking about health. I sent this message about being inspired. It's nice to see people who are older than I am, as in over 20 years older, and still, being able to be so active. And it makes me want to work on being more mobile, being more active, more, and I've already, been working on that in the last couple of years, but especially also this year to improve certain things. And so I actually said that, and at some point, I think I got something back, like, what was it about? And then I said, well, if you want to, I would love to do an interview with you. And then today I found out that he actually wanted to do it. And I was like, what? Say again? So I was a little surprised. But, I believe, and that is something that I did get from Evan Carmichael, yes, that YouTube expert. He said, so he has recorded so many YouTube videos, and well, he sort of has figured out what the algorithm is behind YouTube for short videos, and so like 30 seconds, and long form videos, which are over 10 minutes. Now, he says the longer the better. And at some point I said, yeah, that's nice, but people want captions, and I cannot do captions for, 20 minutes, 60 minutes and longer. And then he said, well, the people who are watching YouTube, they don't need the caption because they're probably listening anyway. It's the people who are on Instagram and who want it short, who basically scroll, so they're not listening with sound, and they need the captions. Okay, I can work with that part. So, having said that, he said there's always one person who will listen to your message and will resonate with it. And that's something that I learned in the last couple of years, that yes, I do function as a role model for other people. And in the beginning, I was like, why do all those people, when I would go to training, recognize me? Because I'm here online. So at first I was like, oh, it must be the crutches. And then I was like, it must be the brace. And then I was like, it must be my blue hair. And yeah, I know it needs to be dyed blue again. So if I am in certain light, it's better visible than in this light right now. But even this is still, over here is still like blue. But whenever it becomes more and more gray, it has one big advantage. The blue is better visible. So, um, yeah. And having been, of course, away, I was able to go to the hairdressers earlier. So she's going to help me out, making it all nice and blue again. Anyway, so I was like, is it because of blue hair? And then someone said, no, it's because of how you come across on the screen. And, you're always busy, you're always out there, and you're always talking, asking questions. And I was like, is that me? Well, the talking, yes. Asking questions, yes. And supporting people, I try to. Um, but, so many people came up to me those 2 times that I went to training. So 4 days in the beginning of September and 2 days in October. And then, hello, Lady Lexi. And I was like, uh-oh. Yeah, we know one another from, and I always see you. So I started asking around, and that's the answer I got. So getting back to, I believe that the person who needs to see it will pick up on it at some point. And especially when we talk about YouTube, those videos remain there. Of course, you can take them off, but the question is, and there's a reason they say what's on the net stays on the net, which also has to do with what people have downloaded and then share again. But yes, I do believe that looking back on what we initially started with, combined with so watching it back and seeing your own growth, but then also taking in consideration that there are people who actually need to hear your message, it can be life changing. And today, when I was talking with one of my clients, we got back to that moment that she said, I didn't see a way out anymore. And someone else had said, go talk to Lady Lexi. And I was like, because, previous experiences. And then she got to understand that I actually understood her, where she came from. And, well, we actually had to get that part across to the one who's funding the whole thing. So fingers crossed that we managed. She gave us some homework, which we are going to work on. And that brings me right back to what I started out with, choices, gaining clarity to be able to make choices, making choices so you can get clarity. And, well, I made a number of choices. Sometimes I lose perspective. For instance, because I'm back and so many other things took priority. So, but that doesn't mean that other things need to stop. It's important to keep on thinking like, okay, what did I set out to do? Now, if we take all of this in perspective, then we know these are the last couple of months of the year. I like the statement, let's finish the year strong. I think it's a good expression. It also has to do with starting the year with a head start, because you are already in that motion, you're already creating habits. So when you start certain things January 1st, then chances are that it's not going to last. Whilst as if you go into the new year with not just resolutions, but things you're actually doing, so taking action, things are so different. And that's something I would like to give to you. I would like to share with you. So the gift of realizing, hey, I have a head start. I am already working on the things which are very important to me. So one of the things is I want to do trips all year long. And one of those trips is specifically meant just before Christmas to take people on a trip over to Europe. And, well, it seems that far away, December, but at the same time, it's the last quarter of the year. And well, I know I want to keep on going. No, I want to do it with more clarity, with even more excitement, with I'm always going to say more stubbornness, like, hey, this is what I need to do. But the good thing is, what I have seen is that in that last year, not just this trip, but also previous trip, but especially combined with this trip, I got so much more clarity about what is important. And I think I talked about it on my blog post. One of the things that I seem to have gotten rid of is FOMO, the fear of missing out. I'm not sure because it's like, well, I'll be going back to the US anyway next year, probably somewhere in September, October, maybe earlier. I don't know. But the mere fact that, you know I'm not going to lose out on certain things. When I focus on things, I know it can happen. And it's like I'm more at ease with things. And as a result, I can let go of things. And I can also make the choice to say, I'm not going to do this, that, or the other anymore. And also, it got me back to what I set out to do initially. So, yeah, I know what it is I want to do. In my case, yes, I do want to create that fire station. Is it a priority when it comes to getting all the things on my website out there and on YouTube, the blog posts? No, not necessarily, but it does when, I start to collect things just in order to make it, because I'm like, oh, that would be convenient and that would be convenient. And it's actually a kind of nice project. And in order to be able to put it somewhere, other things need to go, which has to do with letting go, wrapping up emotions, all those kind of things. So, having said all of this, if you're like, hey, I would like to join the group coaching, or I would like to focus on the last 12 years of this month and then continue on, then, find me, hit me up, and we are going to talk about it. The easiest way to find me is actually to go to Instagram. So on YouTube, it's Lady Lexi Speaks Up. On Instagram, it's Lady Lexi Speaks Up as well. I check that the most, I guess. I also do check Facebook, but a little bit less. But, it's all the same company. So they have certain apps which have both the messages in common. So that's good. But, I want you to get clarity in your life too, to focus on the things that are important in your life too, and to be happy with what you got and happy with the future that you have. Because, it might be one day, it might be dozens of years, it might be over half a century that you still have, it might be more. It's still what you make it, how much are you enjoying every day? How much are you doing every day? And I want you to think about that. And having said so, start with the writing. Start with the writing every day, like what it is you want, what you have done, what you haven't done, what you set out to do, and what you're grateful for. Grateful now, grateful for what you've experienced, but also possibly grateful for what's going to happen in the future. Now, please leave a comment if you want to share what you are grateful for, but also what it is when it comes to choices and clarity. And well, like I said, you can always hit me up on Instagram.